I am Ibrahim Traoré, and I stand before the world to unmask the lies spun by global media giants like CNN, BBC, and France 24. For too long, you have shaped narratives that distort the truth about Africa, painting it as a continent of despair, chaos, and dependency. You've branded me a radical, a dangerous anti-Western dictator, a young military leader to be feared. But today, I speak directly to the world, bypassing your filters, your edits, and your distortions. The era of your media monopoly is over. Millions will hear my words untainted, and I will expose the system that has kept Africa shackled while its wealth is plundered. I am 34 years old. My entire life has been shaped by your lies. As a child, I watched Africa on your screens, always the same images, starving children with flies on their faces, barren lands, endless wars, and death. This, you told us, is Africa. This is its essence. And we believed you. We internalized the shame of our lands, our people, our identity. But as I grew older, I read, I researched, I questioned. I discovered that the Africa you portrayed was a fabrication, a carefully crafted script designed to justify your exploitation. You showed us as subhuman, savages outside the bounds of civilization, wretches waiting for your salvation. Every day, your headlines scream hunger, war, disease, corruption, terror, chaos. These are the only words in your Africa dictionary. Hope, success, development, resistance, honor, pride, victory, these words don't exist in your narrative. Let me ask you, CNN, BBC, New York Times, Washington Post, The Guardian, Le Monde, when have you ever headlined Africa's triumphs? Have you celebrated Rwanda's technological revolution, which has made it a hub for innovation in East Africa? Have you covered Ethiopia's reforestation efforts, planting 350 million trees in a single day to combat climate change? Have you praised Botswana's stable democracy, one of the continent's longest standing, with peaceful transitions of power? Have you highlighted Kenya's vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem, where startups like M-Pesa revolutionized mobile banking? No. These stories don't fit your agenda. A successful Africa undermines the justification for your interventions, your aid, your exploitation. If Africa isn't broken, how can you claim to fix it? If it isn't backward, how can you condescend to it? If it isn't poor, how can you plunder its riches? Let's talk numbers, real, undeniable numbers. Africa holds 70% of the world's cobalt reserves, essential for your smartphones, laptops, and electric cars. Most of it comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, yet Congolese people can't afford cell phones. Africa accounts for 90% of global platinum production, used in catalytic converters, electronics, and medical implants. South Africa is the largest producer, but its people are crushed by unemployment rates hovering at 33%. The continent supplies 30% of the world's gold, flowing from Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Tanzania, yet our people drown in poverty. Africa produces 65% of the world's diamonds, mined in Botswana, Angola, Congo, and Sierra Leone, generating billions in revenue, but miners earn $1 a day. Our lands hold 35% of global uranium reserves, powering nuclear plants in Niger, Namibia, and South Africa. Paris's lights glow with our uranium, but our villages remain in darkness. You ask why Africa is poor. The real question is, how has Africa been kept poor despite its staggering wealth? Colonialism never ended, it merely changed its mask. You no longer occupy our lands with armies, you do it with corporations. You no longer steal with guns, you do it with contracts. You no longer rule with whips, you rule with debt. Let me give you specifics, though you'll never report them. Glencore, the Swiss-based mining giant, extracts cobalt in Congo. In 2022, its revenue was $256 billion, but it paid Congo just $500 million in taxes, 0.2% of its earnings. Is this justice? Rio Tinto, a British-Australian company, mines 20 million tons of bauxite annually in Guinea, leaving behind environmental devastation and rising cancer rates. Total Energies, the French oil giant, operates in Angola, Nigeria, and Congo, earning $36 billion in profits in 2022 while leaving behind leaking pipelines and polluted rivers. Anglo-American, founded in South Africa but now headquartered in London, extracts diamonds, platinum, and iron, yet South Africa grapples with 6 million unemployed. These are just the visible crimes. The invisible ones are worse: secret deals, offshore accounts, transfer pricing schemes. Every year, $88 billion in illicit financial flows leaves Africa, dwarfing the $45 billion in aid that arrives with fanfare. Africa isn't receiving aid, it's giving it. Here's how the system works, step by step. Step 1, create corruption. Bribe our leaders, open offshore accounts, promise them luxury, send their children to your elite schools. Step 2, secure deals. Demand 50 or 99-year concessions, tax exemptions, and exemptions from environmental and labor laws. Step 3, control infrastructure. Take over ports, airports, and railways, but only from the mine to the coast, never to our villages or schools. Step 4, ensure security. Deploy private security firms, arm them, and criminalize protests. Step 5, silence the media. Buy local journalists, suppress dissent, and feed stories of unrest to global outlets like you. This system has operated for a century, and you're complicit. Your biggest advertisers, oil companies, mining giants, arms dealers, pharmaceutical cartels, are the same ones exploiting Africa. You thrive on their money, defend their interests, and call it journalism. Let me speak of France's role, since you rarely do. The CFA franc, a colonial currency, is still used by 14 African nations. 50% of their central bank reserves are held in the French treasury, where France applies negative interest rates. We pay France to use our own money. Through this system, France siphons $500 billion in resources from Africa annually. When France grants 10 billion euros in aid, you trumpet it as generosity, but you ignore the $500 billion it takes. Britain's system is subtler but no less insidious. London is the global hub for money laundering. The City of London, along with British-controlled tax havens like Jersey, Guernsey, the Cayman Islands, and the Virgin Islands, hides Africa's stolen wealth. America's tool is AFRICOM, with 46 military bases across the continent. Officially, it's for security; in reality, it's for resource control. Drones patrol our skies, surveillance systems monitor our leaders, and counterterrorism targets those who resist. China, the new player, promises win-win cooperation, building roads and ports. But in return, it demands 99-year concessions, mining rights, and agricultural land, trapping nations like Zambia in debt. You call yourselves the free press, but you're corporate press. Your owners are billionaires. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, not for love of journalism, but for influence. Rupert Murdoch's empire, Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, the Times, pushes a single narrative: the West is virtuous, the rest are villains. Carlos Slim, Mexico's telecom billionaire, is the New York Times' largest shareholder, his wealth built on Latin America's exploitation. Your editors come from Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, elite schools that produce a uniform worldview. Your Africa correspondents speak only English or French, never Swahili, Hausa, Yoruba, or Amharic. They can't talk to our people, so they rely on Western diplomats, NGOs, and experts, who reinforce your biases. You've hidden the truth about Africa's heroes. Patrice Lumumba, murdered on January 17, 1961, by Belgian mercenaries with CIA complicity, his body dissolved in acid, his teeth kept as souvenirs. In 2022, Belgium returned a single tooth to his family, and you called it chaos in Congo without naming the killers. Thomas Sankara, my hero, was assassinated on October 15, 1987, by his best friend Blaise Compaoré, with French backing. Sankara vaccinated 2.5 million children, planted 10 million trees, raised literacy from 13% to 73%, empowered women, banned FGM, rejected IMF loans, and refused to pay colonial debts. You called his death a military coup and ignored his achievements. Muammar Gaddafi, flawed but transformative, raised Libya's per capita income to $12,000, its literacy rate from 25% to 87%, and life expectancy from 51 to 74. He provided free healthcare, education, and subsidies, and dreamed of a United States of Africa with a gold-backed dinar. His death on October 20, 2011, was celebrated by Hillary Clinton. We came, we saw, he died, and Libya descended into chaos, with slave markets and endless war. You called it democracy, now you target the Sahel, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, hoping to turn us into another Libya, Syria, or Iraq. But we've awakened. France's Operation Barkhane, launched in 2013 to fight terrorism, cost €1 billion annually and deployed 5,100 soldiers. In 2013, Mali had 500 terrorists, by 2022, the Sahel had 5,000. French soldiers protected uranium mines for Areva and oil pipelines for Total, but terrorists roamed freely, burning villages. Why? Chaos justified their presence. The UN's MINUSMA mission in Mali, with 15,000 troops and a $1.2 billion budget, failed to reduce terror after a decade. Wagner, with just 1,000 soldiers, drove terrorists out in 6 months, securing villages and mines. You call Wagner Russian mercenaries, but ignore France's Légion étrangère, America's Blackwater, or Britain's G4S. Why? Because Wagner isn't yours, you created the terror you claim to fight. Al-Qaeda was born in the 1980s, funded by the CIA and Saudi money to counter Soviets in Afghanistan. The Taliban were your freedom fighters. ISIS emerged from the 2003 Iraq invasion, fueled by your torture in Abu Ghraib and disbanded Iraqi army. Libya's looted weapons, post-Gaddafi, armed Boko Haram and others across the Sahel. You destabilized Nigeria by ignoring the 2009 extrajudicial killing of Boko Haram's leader, sparking its radicalization. Now you lecture us on counterterrorism while using it as a pretext to stay an exploit that we've seen through your game. Terror is your Trojan horse, but we're dismantling it. In Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, our armies and police fight for our people, not foreign interests. Villages are safer, hope is rising, and terror is retreating. You call this democratic backsliding or human rights violations, but where is your moral authority? Guantanamo holds prisoners without trial. Abu Ghraib was a torture chamber. Julian Assange rots in prison for exposing your war crimes, Chelsea Manning was jailed for leaking truth, and Edward Snowden is a fugitive for revealing your global surveillance. Your drones kill civilians in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, yet you call it collateral damage. You bomb weddings, schools, and hospitals, yet lecture us on the laws of war. I come from war. I've seen the front lines, carried wounded soldiers, consoled mothers of martyrs. A true soldier protects civilians, fights with honor, and dies for their people. Your mercenaries, drone pilots, and special forces kill from afar, then go home to their families. We face our enemies directly, protect our people, and fight for our land. We will win because the righteous prevail, because those who fight for their people triumph, because those who defend their homeland endure. Your media silences dissent. I know journalists with conscience, but they're muzzled. Truth-tellers are fired, investigative reporters laid off, columnists sacked for declining reader interest. You replace them with think tank experts funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, George Soros's Open Society Foundations, or the Ford and Rockefeller Foundations. They claim to promote democracy but push exploitation, intervention, and control. Your aid narratives, Live Aid, Kony 2012, celebrity adoptions, are propaganda. Live Aid raised millions, but corruption and dependency grew. Kony 2012 enriched its creators while Uganda got American troops. Angelina Jolie, Madonna, and Bono pose for photos, adopt children, or hold concerts, but Malawi's malaria deaths, Bono's tax evasion, and Sudan's oil-driven civil war go unreported. Here's the truth you hide: Africa loses $192 billion annually, $88.6 billion in illicit financial flows, $48.2 billion in corporate profit transfers, $17 billion in debt interest, $13.8 billion in brain drain, $10.6 billion in climate change costs, $17 billion in illegal logging, and $1.3 billion in illegal fishing. Meanwhile, you tout $134 billion in aid and investment, ignoring the net loss of $58 billion. You frame the West and China as saviors, but Africa is the one bleeding. This is my truth, unfiltered, unedited, and undeniable. You can no longer control the narrative. We, the children of Africa, are rising. We will secure our lands, protect our people, and reclaim our wealth. Your lies will not define us, your cameras will not blind us, and your microphones will not silence us. The world is watching, and the truth is breaking through.